This is the landscape of Iceland. Here you can clearly appreciate the geological forces that help to shape the Earth. For example, this rock face is actually part of a huge crack in the Earth's surface. It runs for 7,000 miles from here, under the Atlantic and all the way to California. The Earth's surface is divided into 7 major sections. The sections are called tectonic plates. They carry entire continents, and they extend far under the sea. The place where 2 plates meet is known as the plate boundary. This is what you can see here under the Atlantic Ocean. It runs along the ocean floor, rises above the sea, and cuts a sharp line right through the middle of Iceland. It's difficult to see the plate boundary from above ground. If you want to see it more closely, you can go underwater. This is a very cold place. The water is just 4 degrees Celsius. But here, you can swim between 2 giant tectonic plates. On the left, the North American plate, and on the right, Europe. This gap between the 2 plates is called the Mid-Atlantic Ridge. Geologists believe that these 2 rock faces were previously joined together. 225 million years ago, the continents were one supercontinent. Over time, they were forced apart to make this deep and narrow passage filled with water. It's hard to imagine the energy that is needed to move continents apart. The energy comes from heat inside the Earth, the part that we call the Earth's core. Hot rock rises from the Earth's core. At the surface, the rock is forced in 2 directions. It goes sideways, and then it becomes cool. Over time, the cooler rock sinks back down. Through this process, the 2 plates are slowly pushed apart. This causes the continents to move. Greenhouse gases like carbon dioxide act as a blanket around the Earth. When carbon dioxide is released into the atmosphere, it spreads evenly around the Earth. In the past, the carbon dioxide blanket was thinner, but today it is thicker. And this thicker blanket around the Earth traps more of the sun's heat and prevents the sun's energy from reflecting back into space. This process makes the Earth hotter. The Earth's warming and the resulting ice melt have worried scientists who are now trying to find solutions for global climate change. For as long as the sun has been shining, man has been protecting himself from it using sunshades. Imagine if you could do this for the whole world. One solution may be to do just that. Place a giant sunshade made of 16 trillion glass disks in space, 1 million miles from the Earth. These disks can reflect the sun's rays. Just 2% of sunlight needs to be reflected away from the Earth to prevent climate change. This proposed giant sunshade of glass disks could provide the solution to global overheating. A sunshade in space isn't the only plan for reflecting the sun's rays and reducing global temperatures. There is another suggestion. These clouds are marine stratocumulus clouds. They are only a few 100 meters thick, but scientists are interested in them because of their reflectivity. Scientists have established that they are great for reflecting the sun's rays back into space. This new solution proposes to use large boats that take water from the sea and then spray the seawater into the clouds above. By spraying the clouds with seawater, they become more reflective. As the seawater is sprayed upward from the boats, the water leaves behind salt in the clouds. The salt rises up into the clouds and attracts more water. This makes the clouds thicker and more reflective. It's estimated that 500 liters of water per second sprayed every year can make enough shiny clouds to control the temperature of the Earth and prevent global climate change. These two technologies are interesting new ideas that scientists are now studying, and they could help stop the Earth from warming while we work to develop more carbon-neutral power sources for the future.
Ian Felton is proud of his new digs.
I always have a real joy at the surprise on people's faces when they visit for the first time. And, they're like, wow.
It's not that the place is a nice modern living space, or that it passes the location test perched beside the river. Ian Felton's apartment is a revelation because of what it's made out of. It's got all the comforts of home, and the view isn't bad either. But the important view here is from the outside in. This whole building is made out of what would otherwise be junk, out of shipping containers, and it may be part of the future. Look carefully. The entire building is actually a giant Lego set, a pile of blocks made out of the byproducts of modern trade. The shipping containers used to ferry goods around the world. The problem is the trade is mostly one way. Goods are shipped from the Far East to Europe and America. Sending empty containers back doesn't make sense. It's cheaper to make new ones.
To ship 40 feet of air would not be very
wrapped in
sensible.
a steel shell.
Exactly. Not
Doesn't
very
make any
sensible.
sense.
No. So more sensible to do what we're doing.
What Eric Reynolds is doing is recycling the containers into buildings, homes, schools, offices. Lie them on their sides, pile them up, stand them on edge, cut window shapes into them. It's a handy, quick, and cheap way to build.
Our aim was to find something that we could construct reliably to good standard, that we could rent to people at a low cost.
Several projects have already been built in London. There's a plan for one in New York and inquiries from other places, and satisfied customers who impress their friends.
They kind of assume, I guess, that I'm living in some kind of squat, in some rusty old steel box. Then when they actually come into the space, as you can see, it's a lovely home.
Unlike the little boxes in the song, these aren't made of ticky-tacky, and they don't all look the same. Mark Phillips, CBS News, London.